about the books that I've read in 2023. That is the past year. This is 2024. It's February. I've been trying to record this video for the last 2 months, and I hope this is the last time that I'm doing this, because it's really hard recording yourself on video. For some people it might be easy, but for me it's really hard. And don't ask me why I'm doing this. Just watch if you want to, I guess. So in 2022, I read only 5 books, which was a personal low for me. I usually read more than that. I don't know what happened. I don't want to go into that, but I only read 5 books, and one was a non-fiction book, one was a Malayalam book. So 4 fiction books, 4 English books, and 1 non-fiction book. So when 2023 started, I wanted to read a lot more books. So I decided that I'm going to read 1 book a month. So I'll have at least 12 books ticked off from my to be read by the end of the year. And I don't know if I really read 1 book a month, but I did actually read 14 books, which was really I was really proud of myself. So I just wanted that to be recorded. So among the 14 books that I read, 6 of them were Malayalam books and 8 of them were English books. And I don't think I really read any non-fiction books this year. I can't remember any. I don't think I read any. So I'll just go through them. So the first book that I read this year, the past year, was Kathagal by Subhash Chandran. So Subhash Chandran is a well-known Malayalam novelist, and I've read one of his novels before. And this is a collection of stories that is written, and you shouldn't read this if you don't want to feel emotions that you don't really knew before that you could feel. Do you get it? I mean, a lot of the stories makes you really think, and I just had to keep the book aside and think about it and process what I've just read. So if you don't want to do that, if you want an easy read, don't read this. Now, so the second book I read in 2023 was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is a very popular book, Instagram popular book. It's a novel by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it follows the story of Evelyn Hugo, who is a famous actress in Hollywood. And it's very Hollywoody. It's the story of Hollywood, its glamour, its fame and love. And I did not see the twist of the twist coming, and it has a lot of twists. So you should read it if you like to have a very gripping story. You cannot put the book down once you start. It's just, you will be immersed in the book. That's for sure. Now the third book that I read was the second part of Little Women. So Little Women is a novel. It's a classic novel by Louisa May Alcott. And in 2022, I read the first part of the book. So the first part of the book is the first part of the book, and the second part of the book is actually called Good Vibes or something. But I read the second part past year in 2023 only. And in the movies and all, you actually see the whole story, the first part and the second part combined. But in the book Little Women, when I bought, I didn't know that it only had the first half of the story. So second half I read on ebook, and it's a very warm, kind, beautiful story. I mean, it's, what else can I say? It's whimsical, magical, beautiful story. Sometimes, like at some points, the prose becomes kind of preachy when very religious things are coming. But overall, the story of the 4 March sisters, Meg, Beth, Jo, and Amy, it's really beautiful. And my favorite's Jo, of course. And so the fourth book that I read this year, I actually watched the movie before I read the book, which is not usual for me. I usually try to not watch the movie before reading the book. I try to put it off. But this one I watched the movie because it was so hyped. and I loved the movie. So I wanted to know, like, if is it book accurate, what more is there in the book. So although I do say that I prefer books over movies, and I wait for reading the book to start watching the movie, doing it reverse also, it's also kind of good in one way. Say if you watch the movie first, you're not getting the whole thing. Okay, you watch the movie, you love it, you hate it. If you hate it, that's a whole story. Then you won't be able to read the book the same way you'll read it the first time. But if you love the movie, you'd be wanting to have more of these characters, more of the story, and then you have the book. Then you can just read, and you'll have more of the story, and you'll be more happy. Anyways, the fourth book is The Fault in Our Stars. I read it finally, and yeah, I loved it. I loved it just as much as I loved the movie. I didn't cry, but I was very sad. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. Fifth book is again a Bookstagram famous book. So I haven't really read a lot of Bookstagram famous books. I started trying last year. Some of them I read the reviews and I was like, no, I was not really interested. So Evelyn Hugo and the next book, which is Where the Crawdads Sing. I found the plots intriguing, so I wanted to read these and watch the movies. I mean, I didn't watch the movie of this novel, but Evelyn Hugo movie is coming. I hope so. So this book, Where the Crawdads Sing, is by Delia Owens. It's a novel. It's a novel surrounding a girl who grows up alone in a marshland. It's her life story and how different characters come into her life. Some bring joy, some bring love, some bring trauma. And the main character is the girl and the nature surrounding her. I didn't expect this much from the movie. I was really moved after reading this. It was again one of those novels which made me feel things that I did not want to feel. But it was a good read. So again, you shouldn't read this if you want to just have a nice little light read. It's traumatic. Sixth book that I read was in Malayalam, but the original is in Bengali. The novel is Pratham Pratishruti by Ashapurna Devi. I read the Malayalam translation, and I'm kind of realizing that all the books that I've read past year were not light reads. All of them were like really complicated and really emotionally, kind of makes you go. Anyway, this one, it's about Satya, who's a Bengali woman in pre-independence era, and how she tries to move forward, and how the society is responding to that, all the dynamics. She's a feminist icon. She walked so millions and billions of Indian women could run. Yeah. Love the books. If you want to feel empowered, read it. Seventh book I read was actually a reread. By the time I read the sixth book, I wanted to have some comfort read, and I picked up Harry Potter and Order of the Phoenix. Now, Order of the Phoenix is not really, like, some people don't like it. I don't know why. I've read it somewhere. Some people don't like Order of the Phoenix that much. But anyway, but Order of the Phoenix is the largest book, and that's why I picked it up. So that I can be in the Wizarding world for some long time. Also, whenever I start rereading, I just pick the first book and then I read it and then I stop. And I'm like, can I pick a new book? So I just want to stop that, and I didn't want it to be like first Harry Potter book 10 times read and then this 8th one 1. Didn't want that to happen, so I just picked up Order of the Phoenix and I read it. So I saw a lot of snippets with scenes with Professor McGonagall, which previously, I don't know, kind of left my mind. I don't know. I didn't really pay attention to that part. So Professor McGonagall is very savage, and a lot of it, like her best lines, her best quips are in this book. And I really want to read these out, but I don't know if you haven't read the books. Why haven't you read this yet? And so I'll just read the quips. So if you have read the books, you'll know what I'm talking about, and if you haven't, no spoilers for you. Have a biscuit bottle, and it unscrews the other way. She said that to Peeves, the poltergeist. And last one, I see there are no longer any points left in the Gryffindor hourglass to take away. In that case, Potter, we will simply have to add some more. I love Professor McGonagall. Okay, eighth book was again back to Malayalam. Now this is actually a very light read. Now this is the book. It's called Devathinte Charanmar. It's by Joseph Annankutti Jose. Now this is more or less autobiographic. I wouldn't say autobiographic, but the stories are drawn from his life experiences, and they're good. Like, it's not like a very, huge literary piece or something, but these are like nice little stories, and they're relatable. Some of them are relatable, and many of them have takeaways for your own lives. Yeah, so if you want to start reading, this is a good place. The ninth book that I read was Rendadangari by Thakazhi Shivashankarapilla. It's a Malayalam novel that follows the stories and struggles of farmers in Kuttanadu. It's a good novel. It's a great novel, and it's eye-opening in a sense. And it's also a good place to start reading if you want to. The language is not too hard. It uses a lot of colloquial language, so that might be hard, but it's a good place to start. Okay. 10th book that I read it was again a Malayalam novel called Oru Sankirthanam Pole by Perumbadavan Sridharan. So back in my childhood, I remember in All India Radio, they used to have this 15 minutes program where they would read a novel. So I remember hearing snippets of this novel in that program, and I wanted to read this ever since. So in the novel, Perumbadavan Sridharan, what he does is he follows the life story of Dostoevsky and Anna. So it becomes, I don't know, it becomes kind of preachy sometimes. It has a lot of influence from Bible, and I don't know, it was not as fabulous as I was expecting. Maybe because like whoever was reading was an excellent reader, and then it just captivated my mind. But when I read it, it didn't live up to my expectations. That's all. But it's simple. It's in simple language, so you can start reading this if you want to start reading. The 11th book that I read is actually another empowering book. It's Agni Sakshi by Lalitambika Antarjanam. It's a novel, again a feminist novel. But in the present scenario, we could argue if it's truly feminist or not. This story follows, what's her name? Tedi Edati, who was married into a traditional Brahmin family, but she is actually born to a family which is more progressive than the family she's married into. And it follows the story of Tedi Edati and her sister-in-law, Tangam, their dynamics, and how Tedi Edati leaves the home, becomes a social activist, and then becomes a freedom fighter, and then becomes a monk. And Tangam becomes a housewife, and this novel follows their life stories and what happens when they finally meet. And it's empowering, but the only part where only reason why I said that we can actually argue if it's truly feminist or not is because at the end of the novel kind of gives gives a message like a woman, whatever she becomes, until and unless she becomes a mother, her life is not complete. That's an idea that's revolving around at the end of the novel. It's also that same idea we can also see in other novels or other. No, she hasn't wrote any other novels, but in other stories of Lalitambika Antajanam. But so we could say it's a personal opinion, but that part we can question. But overall, it's it's a great book. Read it. Everybody read it. Now, the 12th book that I read, 12th and 13th, is actually the first and second books of a trilogy. The first book is called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and the second book is Good Girl, Bad Blood. So these novels are by Holly Jackson. So these novels are murder mysteries. Our main character is Pip, and she is a teenager who gets involved in this particular murder mystery for a project, and then she starts investigating it. And what happens after that? The first book is amazing. You cannot put it down once you start reading it. And if you don't like murder mysteries, do not read it. But second book was fine, but it was not as good as the first one. But it was fine. And the last book that I read in 2023, I can't say I finished it in 2023. I started it, but I finished it in January only. So it's Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. And when I picked up this book, I expected something along the lines of Jane Austen, but they're completely different storytellers. Jane Austen's stories more or less follow the domestic experiences of women at that time, but Wuthering Heights is, I don't know how to explain. Like, okay, I'm gonna borrow a sentence from the blurb of this book. It's an epic story of love, envy, betrayal, and revenge. Yes, that's the accurate description of this book. It's a classic novel, so language is a bit hard. Plus, the first few chapters are a bit dry, so I didn't like it initially. I read like 2 or 3 times the first few chapters only, and then I'll just pick up another book and I'll forget about the first few chapters, and then I'll pick it up again and I have to restart. So the third time or fourth time, I don't remember which time. I finally pushed past the first few chapters and I got hooked to the story, and then it just flows. We cannot put it down. But that's it. That's the books that I've read in 2023. Now, how do I end this? I guess in 2022, when I read the 5 books, I actually made another list where I listed the books that I started but did not finish, and I made a TBR for 2023. So let's see how many of them I actually read. So in the started but didn't finish list, first one is Ambalamani, which is a collection of poems by Sudha Kumari. I did not finish that one. Second was Kathagal by Subhash Chandran. I finished it. Third was Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I did not finish it, and I don't think I can finish it. Frankenstein is, again, it's horror, it's gothic, but I just couldn't get it. I had the same problem with Frankenstein as with Wuthering Heights, but I don't know if I would like it even if I push past the first few chapters. I'm not sure, maybe in a later time. Fourth one was The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri, which I did not finish, but I've started in 2024. And fifth one was Little Women Part 2, which also I finished in 2023. And the actual TBR for 2023 was 1. Wuthering Heights, done. 2. The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, done. 3. Oru Sankirthanam Pole, done. 4. Bharata Paryatanam by Kutty Krishnamarar. No, it's not done yet. And I don't have the book with me, so I don't know if I can finish it in 2024 or not. Anyway, that's it. That's the books of 2023 video. I don't know if you like it. If you got any good takeaway from this, comment below. Bye bye.